as much as movies have always been a huge part of my life, always right along beside them has been video games. And for a while I've been pondering ways to bring that second passion onto my channel. And so I guess I figured, why not combine the two? Now, the checkered past of movie tie-in games is no secret, but lying underneath that sea of sludge are a few pearls that are waiting to be found. And I aim to do just that.
Just what I need. Just what I need. Just what I need. Just what...
I wasn't sure where to start. I mean, countless trips to thrift stores have helped me amass a huge collection of odd games, purchased at a bargain price. But then I remembered there was a movie coming out this summer, a sequel to one of my favorite films in childhood as much as it is now. And that movie had a video game about it. A game I played as a child several times actually, but I was never able to get far. And selecting it for this video was the perfect excuse to go back and finish it. So yeah, this was originally supposed to come out alongside Incredibles 2, but clearly that didn't happen. But I played through the game and I recorded the footage, so gosh darn it, I'm gonna use it. So now, at last, let's take a look at Incredibles, the video game.
Showtime.
The Incredibles was released in 2005 alongside the film, naturally. It was developed by Heavy Iron Studios, who, at that point, were known primarily for their relatively successful SpongeBob games, Battle for Bikini Bottom, and the SpongeBob SquarePants movie game. Disney must have liked what they did with Incredibles, though, because Heavy Iron would go on to make the games for Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, and co-develop all three versions of Disney Infinity.
What are you waiting for?
I didn't notice at first. The game lulled me into a false sense of security with early promises of variety. The first level pits me as Mr. Incredible, all set to stop Bon Voyage and his goons from robbing a bank. I run around a linear level, punching dudes, throwing dudes, and breaking everything possible. Combat isn't exactly complicated, but it works well enough. Luckily, after 10 or so minutes of that, I'm on to the next level where I put on the figurative boots of Elastigirl, stopping the exact same crime as Mr. Incredible. But everything is the same, mostly. You can hit bad guys from a little farther away, and they can take a few more cracks to the skull. But those extra hits don't become too noticeable, though, because, well, you can throw bad guys roughly 25 feet, and a ledge is always nearby. I mean, the combat is still its simple button-mashing self, but the minor differences were enough to keep things fresh. At least, for a little while. Level 3 offers the first real mix-up in gameplay with a boss fight. It's against, of course, Bon Voyage. He's given 6 bars of health in his bob. You have to whittle them down by throwing his own bombs back at his helicopter. And naturally, this process gets extensively repetitive. Mr. Voyage has 3 or 4 moves that he uses in a sequence. The fewer health bars he has, the more often he goes through that rotation. They aren't hard to dodge or anything, but God forbid you die and you have to restart the entire battle, requiring you to do more of that exact same thing all over again. I mean, yeah, it was nice to have a break in the gameplay, but man, did it make me miss at least having location changes. Speaking of location changes, I finally get to leave the drab metropolis of before for a burning building. Remember in Incredibles when those guys with the flamethrowers took on Bob and Lucius? No, me neither, but apparently the game decided we needed someone to punch. As if the giant pits of instant death below hard-to-judge jumps weren't enough, the enemies will push you back anytime their flamethrower touches you. Do not stand near the edges. Honestly, though, once I got the hang of these swings, this level was pretty fun. The enemies are not too frequent, and it's a location that only comes up once, which is something that can't be said for most of the levels in the game.
It's about time! Alright, people, stand back!
It's not as fun as Late for School, though. Late for School is by far my favorite level in the game. And talk about a gameplay switch. Here as Dash, I get to tear across the suburban streets at top speed, dodging cars, cones, and potholes. There's a timer, which puts them off, but for me, I never wanted this level to end, and sometimes I would even purposefully let the time run out, just so I could restart. I mean, the runs where I could go full sprint and dodge every obstacle and land the biggest jumps were just a blast. It's too bad it's one of the shortest levels in the game, and well, I didn't get to play as Dash again until the very end.
Just in time.
After that refreshing break, it's back to the grind of Mr. Incredible. I mean, the game opened me up to 3 out of the 4 family members so early, and I'm stuck with Bob, probably the least interesting, throughout most of the remainder of the game. Each level consists of go to an area, beat up the goons, hit the right switch, and then move on. Occasionally get some platforming, which was never fun because the camera was not on my side. And location is mostly the island, except for, oh boy, they mix it up in the last few levels with some sweet gray underground tunnels. How exciting. Similarly, Syndrome's goons are the only bad guys, aside from some annoying robots, that I fight the rest of the way. Instead of something else to mix it up, the goons just get armor. So now, I get to hit X even more, just to kill one guy! Great! And there is even more of them than in the earlier levels. When you finally get to a Mrs. Incredible level, those differences from earlier, yeah, don't really cut it anymore. She's far more effective at taking bad guys out, though.
I'm a heartbreaker. There's nothing like a little pick-me-up.
I have 3 more boss fights, all against the Omni Droid, and 2 of them are the exact same fight, just in a different location. And they all fall into the same trap as the Bon Voyage fight. Same attacks over and over and over, and dying just makes you do it all over again. Really, the checkpoints were annoying overall. In the normal levels, some rooms took near 30 minutes to clear, going up multiple levels, hitting 5 or 6 switches, and having to beat up bad guys every time. One slip up, and you have to go through the whole process, defeating the same enemies and hearing the same one-liners all over again.
Just what I need.
There is finally that one more Dash level, which wasn't quite as fun for me as the first, with slightly less variety in the obstacles, but it was different at least. And I got to run on water. There's one level where you get to roll around as Dash and Violet together. I love that. It was like Super Monkey Ball, but you know, I couldn't fall off the edge 1,000 times because I suck. When the game does mix it up, it's usually awesome. Usually. There is the one solo Violet level, and man, did I hate it! Aside from the bug that made Violet turn black when she was supposed to turn invisible. It's a stealth mission, of course, and just to make things extra fun,
no.
it has one-hit kills. Any hit, any time, dead on the spot.
You saw me?
Thankfully, it is also a short level, but man, was it just so frustrating. I ended up having to use a guide just to get myself to push through. The enemy placement, it made me feel like I needed premonition just to get through without dying 20, 25 times. I was glad when that mix-up of gameplay was over.
Still, I think my biggest problem is just the wholesale lack of variety. I'm sure they had a huge time crunch when creating this game, and they only had 2 hours of a movie to stretch out across an entire game. But it still just felt long, despite the fact that it only took about 6 hours to complete. Adding in some new combinations with the family members, perhaps adding Frozone as a playable character, or even just adding combos into the combat would have gone leaps and bounds toward making this less of a pain to get through. It just reminds me of the quote at the end of the walkthrough by Clockstopper that I used. Said, "Congratulations, you beat a difficult game. Not difficult in that it was a fair challenge, but difficult in that poor design choices and poor controls make it a chore to get through." Alrighty, that's episode 1. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope to have more of these out in the future. Judging by how long it took me to do this one, that next one is a long way away. But hey, at least I've done one now. I've got a little bit more of a feel for it. So maybe I'll be able to speed up the process next time whenever I decide what my next game is going to be. But I hope you enjoyed it, and hope you'll enjoy the next videos that come out. And as always, thank you very much for watching.
Just what I need.